Hello to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. I'm coming to you from the wharf number 6 today. It's lunchtime. I've just grabbed something to eat and I've come down here to get out of the breeze, because as you can see the cloud cover's rolled in. We've got a bit of a breeze blowing across the harbour at the moment, so I've just come out of the elements just in case I get some buffering on the microphone. So I'll do it from this vantage point this afternoon. And what I've got today is a book, a different style of book, a different style of vlog. It's entitled The Antidote by Oliver Burkeman. And it's a different spin, as I mentioned before, on positive reinforcement and on basically being positive and the impact it has on happiness. Because I guess what we learn over the years is that there are horses for courses, and not everything works for each and every one of us, and we need to have different viewpoints and different angles to look at the life around us, and to understand what works and what doesn't work. So this author here gives us a different perspective that we'll go through step by step. But basically what he's saying is that if you try and be too positive, and if you try and focus on, eliminating the negativity out of your life, then that may work for you. But there are also examples where it may work against you, because there are ways of using negativity to gain leverage in our lives, and it all depends on the cultural points or how you are as a person as to whether or not it works or it doesn't work for you. But the book here, The Antidote, may give us some life hacks and may give you some insights as to what you can use to leverage and to gain leverage in your life to get the things that you want to achieve out of your life. So the author here says that basically sometimes, not always, but sometimes, the effort to feel happy is often precisely the thing that makes us miserable. The constant efforts to eliminate the negative is what causes us to feel insecure, anxious, uncertain, and unhappy. So once again, a different spin on things, which may or may not work for us, but it's certainly something to look at and to try and figure out. So the author here is basically suggesting that if you're chasing happiness and you're constantly focusing on, being happy and not being unhappy, then this in itself could be torment and torture to some people, and bring about their unhappiness, their uncertainty, their anxiousness and insecurities. So it's good to have a number of skills in our skill set, and it's good to have multiple viewpoints to enable us to figure out, as I mentioned before, what works for us, what works for others, and what basically doesn't work. But the author here suggests that on a scale of 1 to 10, we need to assess where we sit on that spectrum of happiness and how we feel right now. Because there appears to be a cultural obsession to be happy, a focus, and an obsessive sort of focus on the need to be happy, which is more of a Western style of obsession that has come about over the years, where people just want to eliminate any problems that they have in their life, take a happy pill and be constantly happy, which I guess is possible, but it's also impossible, depending on your personality type and what drives you. But the important thing to understand, I think, from what the author is suggesting here, is that happiness never lasts. It's a fleeting sort of thing that comes and goes, and we need to understand what makes us tick. Because it's a bit of a paradox, according to the author, that positivity isn't as effective as you think. And we'll move on now to the first structured point, which comes from this book here, which is basically that if we focus on happiness and we're constantly chasing it, that may not get us to the point and to the result that we're looking for. It's a little bit like when we over-focus on things, or when we over-want things. It never quite works out the way you want. Because if we're focusing on getting rid of the negative thoughts in our mind, the mere fact that we're focusing on those negativities will potentially make them grow and overwhelm us. And an example to help us understand this a little bit better in terms of how the mind works and how our focus works is that if you say to yourself, or if you say to a group of people, don't think of a pink elephant, they'll end up thinking of a pink elephant and not be able to get that out of their mind. So, and it's called the pink element effect, and it's quite interesting just to understand how this works. So I guess the key point is to not to focus too much and to spend too much energy trying to eliminate negativity. But I guess the important thing is to embrace it, to work with it, to surf with it, and not to get to dwell too much on it, because it can be overwhelming and self-consuming. So if you're told not to be sad, is another example the author has here. If you're told not to be sad, you probably end up being sad. It's counterintuitive, but fairly true. So I guess there's a trick. There's a trick, and every one of us is different. But we, as I said before, we need to learn what makes us work. The other thing also is that by thinking about the worst case scenario, actually for some people it makes them tougher and not depressed. So some people thrive on assessing what's going on around them, and they like to understand what the worst case scenario is in order to make some bold and productive decisions. So that's an example there that by just focusing on the negative and assessing the potential problems and challenges that it poses can help can be used as leverage to get to where you want to get to. The other example that the authors talk about here is self-humiliation exercises, where people go out in public and do certain things in order to humiliate themselves, like getting on a train and standing at the door, and before every station just yelling out at the top of the voice which station they're coming into. And what you tend to find with those self-humiliation exercises is that the worst case scenario that you could imagine in your mind prior to the exercise never really eventuates. So even though you'll think that people will get sick of you and kick you off the train and abuse you and do this, that and the other, by going through this self-humiliation exercise, you actually realise that people just ignore you, and and it doesn't work out as bad as what you really, as you imagine it would be. And that in itself is a powerful exercise, because they say that in terms of fear, only 10% of the things that you actually fear end up materializing the way you thought or you feared it would be, which is a positive sort of thing to understand, and to realize that sometimes we just need to get on with it and just do things and not fear the outcome, because the outcome, regardless of how bad it may appear in our mind's eye, may never appear and work out the way we quite imagined it. So the other thing that the author talks about here is the visualization, because they say that visualization is so psychologically satisfying that it causes people to relax too much prior to meeting their goal, and they may in fact be too complacent and not do what's needed to actually convert and get to their goal point. So being too enamored with visualization and too locked in to the whole visualization movement, what the author is saying here is that you may get too excited and too satisfied and too complacent because you've experienced it in your mind over and over again, that when the opportunity presents itself, you don't have that desire, you don't have that thirst, you don't have that hunger to go after it, to convert it and to make it yours. So the last thing that the author talks about here is the fact that for many people, goal chasing may make us miserable, because you spend too much time looking into the future and living in the future, that it makes you anxious, and that whole chasing, for some people, not all people I'm saying, but some people may just not enjoy it at all. So because what the author is saying here in their book is that by having too many goals, or to be too focused on goals and on the future, is an attempt to control the future. And in some ways it gives you a false reality, because what's more important is to approach your goals and to approach your future with a level of flexibility to enable you to chop and change and adjust your activity, your actions, so that you can achieve part of your goal or all of your goal, but not to be too bold and to risk losing everything by just being single-minded and pig-headed about achieving a particular goal. So there you go. There's a book summary that we've been through today called The Antidote, which I guess is the antidote to all the positive reinforcement material, all the leadership material that's out there, which talks about the importance of visualization, the importance of goal setting, the importance of manifesting your future through affirmations and all of those things. This book gives a different spin on all of that, which suggests that a lot of that sort of mindset, a lot of that sort of teaching, a lot of that thinking may be counterproductive and actually leads you to being complacent or being miserable or unhappy. It all depends. So I guess for each and every one of us, we need to take all of the material that we've got available to us, assess it, and work out what works for each and every one of us in order to make it either incorporate it or disregard it. You know, the beauty of Jim's 5am Club is that we go through many books. We go and review lots and lots of other people's experiences to be able to bring a balance to our lives and to work out what fits into our current life and our current way of doing things, and to fine-tune our life as opposed to radically change it. So let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I'm well, and I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, stay reasonable, and most importantly, be open, be flexible to what works for you, and don't just take everything that I say or we say or authors say. Just take it and use what you can, use what works, and ignore what doesn't work. As long as you understand the science behind the things that we're talking about and are able to use it to leverage your decision making and your lifestyle, then that's what we're trying to achieve, I guess, all trying to achieve at the end of the day. Because what we want to do is we want to be supportive, we want to be the wind beneath our wings, and to enable us to grow, develop, and become better versions of ourselves so that we can live, learn, and pass it on, and fine-tune whatever we have available to us to be part of our inventory of tricks that we can use to grow and develop. Yassas, take care from Jim's 5am Club, and we'll chat again later on, where we'll go through yet another book summary which will take us on a journey, a vicarious journey into the tomorrow. Yassas, take care, filakya, and bye for now.